One of the toughest things about timeshare exit is understanding how to negotiate a timeshare exit. What strategy is going to match each individual timeshare owner's situation? There is no one size fits all in timeshare exit. It really has to be tailored to each individual situation. In some situations, someone owns a timeshare that's paid off and they have a major financial hardship of some sort, right? A spouse passes away, health issues, all kinds of things like that. And that hardship might be the best methodology. That might be the best negotiating technique with that particular file. You may have someone that has money out the yin yang, and it's not a financial hardship for them to pay for this, but it's not what they thought they were buying, and it's not solving a problem, and they're tired of throwing good money, after bad, owning this timeshare. Well, you're not going to be able to negotiate a hardship when someone's worth $10 million. It's just not going to happen. So you have to adjust the methodology to each individual situation, and you have to understand the individual and why they want to get out of the timeshare, what happened to them as it relates to the timeshare, perhaps what consumer protection laws were violated, whether or not you even need to go down that road, or if there's an easier non-confrontational methodology for getting out of the timeshare. Maybe there's no negotiation at all. Because if we can fit somebody into a transfer, as an example, that's something the timeshare company is going to benefit from, and it's not an adversarial exit. And so we'd always want to go down that path: quicker, cheaper, works every single time, and it's not adversarial. So, and it's not a negotiation. It's just a clerical transaction. Let's do that, right? So it really depends on the situation that a particular timeshare owner is in. If it relates to a Mexico timeshare, we're going to go. We also can transfer that if we can. We're always going to transfer it, but the negotiation is going to be arguing a case in front of an arbitrator at a consumer protection agency. That's how it's going to go, and then partnering with attorneys and companies like Centerstone Group that understand that arbitration process and what is going to yield the best results in that arbitration process is priceless. It's priceless. Knowledge is everything as it relates to that, and understanding what negotiation techniques are going to work, how to do them, and making sure knowing how the system works. In the United States, it can be much more difficult. The negotiation when it comes to a timeshare exit in the United States should always start with adults talking to adults, right? Anytime there's a disagreement, we should probably talk about it, present the side. As a timeshare owner, you want to present your side of the story and say, hey, this is what happened to me. This was my experience. This is what I was told. This is how it didn't work out. And I really want this resolution. What do you say? What can we do here? That's where it's got to start. And knowing what transpired that's material is critical, right? We have a lot of clients that will say, tell me about your experience. We'll say, tell me about your experience. Write your statement regarding what your experience was with the timeshare company. And they'll start out by saying, we were invited to a breakfast and we were fed stale honey buns. Well, I can tell you, the stale honey bun negotiation is never going to be successful. They don't care that the honey buns were stale, and no one's letting you out of a contract because the honey buns were stale. Okay? So you have to understand what's really material and what's going to be important to them and what represents a liability to them. Okay? They're a large corporation, and they have an aversion to certain types of risk. Honey bun expiration risk is low. Consumer statute violation risk is high, but you need to understand what laws were broken, how they were broken, what the patterns that they have are, and how to get at their pressure points. Sometimes they don't, they're not concerned about a letter from a consumer. But when we get regulatory agencies involved, and a regulatory agency like a state attorney general's office writes a letter to the timeshare company saying, hey, I have this complaint and there are some concerning allegations here that we would like for you to address. Well, that's a pretty good negotiating technique. Okay. But understanding what those consumer statutes that were violated and which ones are important to an attorney general and which ones are not important to an attorney general is critical to get the attorney general or the Federal Trade Commission or the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau to write that letter saying, what say you about these claims? And that's a very good negotiating technique. But how do you do that? Right? And that's where a company like Centerstone Group or a quality timeshare exit organization knows how to execute those things and get that result for their client. So the best way to negotiate a timeshare exit generally is going to be finding a great negotiating partner. And do your research, ask the tough questions. Centerstone Group is here to help. If we're able to take on your file and negotiate your exit, we're pretty good at what we do. So that's what I would say is the best negotiating technique is get a great negotiator.